Greetings, gardeners. I think it's pretty easy to take a shine to Jaboticaba plants. They're really interesting, at least for me they are. A lot of people kind of, well, they take a long time to come to flower and whatnot, and that can be true. Not always, though. There are different varieties of the plant. I did not know what I was getting into when I planted the seed for the one here behind me, because it took about 7 years from a seed to come to flower. On the other hand, I have a nursery grown plant that I purchased right next to it here that took probably 10 years to come into bloom. Joe Hewitt and I have a number of others that are up in the nursery we're experimenting with that supposedly could be as little as maybe 4 years. Although I've heard people throw numbers around like 25 years to get fruit. Well, I don't know. It could be true. It very well could be, especially depending on your conditions. I think the conditions here up in Mountain View are apparently very suitable for this plant. It's one of the reasons that Joe has had me custom growing them up here. There's a few things that he brought in that do much better down the mountain where it's lower and warmer. But up here, the Jaboticaba seems to just love us. So, my time frame to flowering could very well be shorter than most. Anyway, I just happened to notice while I was out here the other day that Jaboticaba is flowering, and it's the darndest thing. It flowers down the main limbs and on the trunk. It doesn't flower on spurs like an apple or a pear, or out towards the ends of the branches like most temperate fruit do, on the newer growth. Now, it's not unusual that tropical trees do this. There are quite a few tropical trees that actually will fruit down low on the old hardwood, flowers coming right out of the side of a trunk. Jaboticaba for sure is one of them, but very notable plant that does the same thing is cacao. The durian will do this, jackfruit does it, there are quite a few others, but let's take a look at the flowers here because it's a good bloom. I was impressed, and I'm hoping that the bloom will then set to a good crop of fruit this year. You can see here is nice fluffy little white flowers going up and down the trunks in here. It's really an oddball the way it does this, and sometimes I think the flowering almost looks more like lichens growing on the plant than it does bloom. Occasionally maybe I miss the flowering because of this. This one here is started to flower in about 7 years. I believe this year is probably number 8. I don't think it's going to make a full bloom across the entire plant, but it's doing better than it has in the past. It's doing pretty good. Right over here we see some flowering on the older tree. It's not as abundant as the younger tree, but it's doing all right. This one seems to actually flower on lighter wood. The younger tree seems to want to flower on the heavier old wood. This one's further up the tree. Over the years, I have frequently heard gardeners tell me, oh no, I need an older plant. I need it to fruit because I haven't got time to wait. Well, it's not always the solution. In this case here, I think the main difference in the flowering time was really in the variety, the genetics of the plant. That's all it was. In some cases, it does have to do with age, but a lot more often, it has to do with vigor. Now, I have seen younger, smaller plants, in many cases, flower and fruit better crops earlier than older plants do. Mostly because the older plants often are pot bound. Sometimes they're kind of stressed and worn out from being in these containers. I observe here in the nursery when I transplant on frequent intervals that the plants will grow like mad. But as soon as I stop transplanting and let them sit a while, they slow down. Everything takes forever after that. And so age is not necessarily what you're looking for, especially not when it comes to fruiting plants. Aloha, have a great day, happy gardening.